Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. We are here today to talk about the newest phenomena in Magic the Gathering and whether it's real, specifically the Godzilla Boxtoppers. If you haven't heard about this, essentially an image popped up on the internet with multiple cards that are supposedly these variation Godzilla Boxtoppers. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at each of these cards that we have presented individually, talk about what they are, and then we're going to talk about the likelihood of whether these are real or fake based on a number of different factors. At this point, there's no way of absolutely saying which it is, but either way, I want to go through everything and then I will weigh in with my opinion on whether these are credible or not. So we're going to start out by looking at BioQuartz Space Godzilla. These are originally in Portuguese and they are translated, so there may be some weirdness with the wording. And also you'll notice when you take a look at this card image, in the upper right hand corner where the blue mana symbol is, you're going to notice that part of the card is essentially missing. It's going to look weird in that area, and that's because these cards were just kind of spread out on the table overlapping each other, so not every part of the card is visible. So for example, the blue mana symbol that it's showing here wasn't actually available in the image. It's just being inferred. People are essentially assuming that's what it is based on what's in the text box of the card. So I mean, and that does make sense to me. So when we take a look at the translated version of this is BioQuartz Space Godzilla. It is 1 black, 1 green, 1 blue, and 2 to cast. So 5 to cast in total. Now you'll notice that directly below the name, in the same name box, there is a subcategory where it says Brokos Apex of Eternity. The concept behind this, supposedly, is that the Brokos Apex of Eternity would be an actual Ikoria card. And this is a reskinned version, essentially, where they've called it, this is Space Godzilla, but even in the text box, it will refer to itself as the regular Magic card. So the whole card is going to treat itself as if its name is Brokos Apex of Eternity. So this is a legendary creature, Elemental Beast Nightmare, and it's a mythic rare. It's got Mutate, which costs 2 green, and a hybrid blue or black and 2. It's got Trample, and you may cast Brokos Apex of Eternity from your graveyard using its Mutate ability. Now, obviously, on Mythic Rares with this many abilities, they wouldn't actually, in most cases, explain out what Mutate is, so there's no reminder text for that. Overall, I mean, this is a 6/6 for 5 mana that has a very interesting mutate costs. Now note, we don't know at this point what mutate is. There are some theories. I've heard leaks saying that it's something like you can basically take a creature and place it on another creature and they mutate together and kind of add their stats together, but we don't have that confirmed. Either way, this is Brokos Apex of Eternity reskinned as the BioQuartz Space Godzilla. I mean, on the surface of it, it's like, well, if mutate works in the way where you mutate a card from your graveyard, like where you mutate a card means putting it on another card, you could spend the mutate cost and put it on top of another creature and add, I guess, everything from the card. Again, we don't know exactly how mutate works, but overall, depending on how mutate works, this would be a very solid card for the mana cost. Admittedly, the hybrid in the mutation cost does feel a little bit weird, but we'll come back to that after we've gone through the cards and we sort of pick this all apart. So the second card we have to talk about is Godzilla Primordial Champion. So Godzilla Primordial Champion is 2 green and 7, and its like regular name would be Titanote Rex. It is a creature, beast dinosaur. It's an uncommon with, again, trample. This has cycling for a green and a colorless. When you cycle Titanote Rex, put a trample counter on target creature you control. So this would fall in line with the speculation that I had done specifically about the set, saying, you know what, they're probably going to have ability keyword counters. That falls in line. Now, in terms of power and toughness, we have absolutely no idea because as you can see by looking at the card, that part of the card is just sheared off. It's not actually available in the image. So we have no concept, but I imagine that this would be on the high power. I'm imagining like based on a magic uncommon regularly for this kind of a cost, I would expect that you would be looking at something in the range of 7.7 to 9.9 as a power and toughness. Obviously, there's no way of saying for sure. I mean, the artwork for these cards, I'll be honest, I don't have that much to say about it, which is why I didn't really delve into the artwork on the first one, because it's just like, okay, the first one was Godzilla with shoulder pads, and this one's Godzilla taking a walk in town. I'm not a big Godzilla fan. Like, I don't care about Godzilla movies, so I don't know a lot about the Godzilla mythology and what, like, oh, check it out, there's Godzilla and he's hugging his favorite friend Bruce. None of that means anything to me. So for me, the Godzilla aspect of it doesn't add any kind of excitement to the equation. But whatever. Let's move on to the next card we have, which is King Caesar Ancient Guardian, who's some kind of like, I don't know, troll goat lord or something. Like I said, I don't know nothing about Godzilla. So King Caesar Ancient Guardian. He is 1 white and 3. There's no translation for what his original name is supposed to be. The translations are an issue. So this is a cat creature. So I guess he's a gigantic cat beast. All right, he's got mutate for 1 and 2. And whenever this creature mutates, other creatures you control get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of this creature's mutations. It's a weird wording. It is a very, I don't know, man. It's translated as well. So I mean, overall, you'd be paying 4 mana for a 3/4 that could theoretically give all of your creatures a huge boost if you had mutated it a number of times. So conceptually, that is an interesting idea. I don't know exactly like how well this would play out because we don't understand mutate. So it's impossible to really kind of gauge how powerful this card would be. There is a 4th card they showed in the picture, but we have nothing for it basically. It's just kind of peeking behind everything. And I'll put the picture of how everything showed up originally up at the end. There's just something else I want to talk about first, and that is the whole fact that it actually came in a promo booster that you can see here. If you take a look at the image, it looks very much like the promo packs that they send out for, what do they use these for? They used to use them for Standard Showdown. Now they're just like more standardized promo packs that they send out to stores. But that's not what the person who's sharing this is claiming. They're claiming that this is a box topper package that we're looking at, right? It's like card especial de Ikoria. So, I mean, that would be special Ikoria cards, I guess, would be the name of the booster. I don't know. That's a little bit weird to me. So the image here, let's go ahead. I'm going to put up the original image as it was shared. So when it comes down to all of this stuff here, is it possible? First of all, is it possible for Wizards of the Coast to create Godzilla themed cards? Because remember, Wizards of the Coast has done other products where they have created like silver bordered versions of things. So we've got in the silver bordered, we've had crossovers with My Little Pony, we've had crossovers with Transformers, Dungeons and Dragons, even Nerf dart toys. Those have been included. So all these sort of things have been done in crossovers. However, those are all Hasbro properties. But there is a scenario where Hasbro could have licensed the Godzilla, like the Godzilla franchise from, I believe the company is Toho. I think that's the name of it. The company that owns Godzilla is Toho, which is like a huge, massive movie corporation over in Japan. And Wizards of the Coast could have licensed the IP so that they could use Godzilla. And there is actually precedence for this in the fact that they've already done Godzilla Monopoly, Godzilla Jenga, and maybe some other Godzilla things. But either way, we've already had a scenario where Hasbro has paid to use this IP. So it's not, that was originally one of the issues I took with it when I was like, I don't know, the whole like who owns the IP, who can use it sort of thing. But since it's already been licensed before by Hasbro and Hasbro owns Wizards, it does get rid of that kind of a concern. But overall, I very much lean towards these being absolute fakes. I don't genuinely believe these are real. There's a number of reasons for them. And actually, luckily for me, somebody has listed a bunch of these reasons already on Reddit. There's a few that I have that aren't listed on there, but it is a very succinct list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go through the points that were made indicating as to why this is most likely fake. Some of these are points that I actually already brought up in live streams and have covered, and some of it is stuff that I have not brought up myself. But we'll talk about these points, and then I'll bring in the other information I have that also leads to me believing these are not real. Okay? So the leak, this is the list here. The leak is alleged to come from Brazil, which basically never gets cards delivered early. In fact, Brazil usually gets cards late because their custom agents always hold up the shipments, and Wizards has had to postpone stuff in Brazil in the past because of that problem. This is true. I have actually heard myself directly from multiple people in Brazil that this is the sort of scenario that they end up with. So that is one point against this. It's like, wait. This leak is coming from a place that traditionally gets cards way later than everybody else, and yet somehow, mystically, they have this ahead of everybody else? Okay, so you've got that to start with, right? You've got non-English mock-ups are a somewhat popular tactic fakers use. This is something I already brought up myself, because they cover up a bunch of templating issues. Actually, I mentioned that specifically in today's live stream. I said, because the cards aren't in English, it's not as easy to pinpoint template errors. When you've dealt with Magic cards for as long as some of us have, you can spot a fake right away just by going, that is not how Wizards words their cards. So by cloaking it in a non-English language, the translation issues allow for any templating issues to also be hidden more effectively, right? So proper Magic rules templating isn't a strong skill of most fakers, and that is very true. Doubly so for mocking up in Portuguese, which has historically been a language where even the official Wizards translations are pretty awful. So not only did they go with a non-English variation, they have gone with the variation that is usually the biggest problem even for professional translators in Magic the Gathering, right? So that's another big point against it. Another issue is official extended art variations of cards Wizards has been doing lately have been English only. So Wizards has been specifically making these cards only in the English language. That's obviously another point against this. Now, the card contains nothing new in the text boxes. To understand what this is getting at, previous leaks have actually spoiled things like keywords and mechanics that were previously completely unknown. The Godzilla leak uses only safe bet things, mutate and ability counters that people already know of or strongly expect to be in Ikoria. This is another way of fakers effectively going, well, people are already expecting this, so we play into their expectations, and you go, I thought we'd see this, I thought we'd see this, or we know this is in there. Like, we know mutate is in there, and it's strongly speculated that ability keywords are in there. That is a reasonable expectation, but not concretely confirmed, but it's been spread around enough that people take it as it's like gospel, right? That's the expression that you would use there. So this kind of plays on the fact that you have particular expectations and those expectations are being met. Now, the next one is a big one. The Godzilla alternate art, remember the uncommon Godzilla that didn't have the power and toughness? The uncommon Godzilla is allegedly a non-legendary uncommon. That's awfully fishy for such a super iconic character in a first-of-its-kind franchise crossover. Godzilla isn't a creature type. It's an individual, right? So it's not like a Godzilla is a goat. You know what I mean? It's just like goat versus Godzilla. So why isn't Godzilla legendary? There's no logical reason for this. And as a final note on this list, April Fool's Day is on Wednesday, and this could easily be a lead up to April Fool's. So this list was compiled by Uber Nostrum, over on the MTG Reddit. Actually, he was saying this in response to people complaining that posts about this Godzilla stuff were getting deleted from the MTG Reddit. And I can actually understand it. I've seen a lot of fakes over the years, and I can understand not wanting to propagate this as if it's genuine information without having confirmation. So I think that it's perfectly reasonable for them to go, okay, we're not going to keep this up unless you can actually prove that it's real. So a couple of more points I want to add in myself as to why I think that it's fake, because we've already gone over some of the, I had made some of the points on the list. Some of the points on the list I had not personally made. But when you take a look at this, box topper packages, if these are indeed box toppers, you would get one card per pack, right? That's how box toppers operate. So you would get a single card in that pack. And so this would be 4 box toppers worth of packs. And yet they only have one packaging. They only have one piece of packaging, and the packaging photograph is taken in a way where you can't even see the entire packaging. And we live in an age where making digital mock-ups of things like that, like you could literally just take a picture of you holding any random product pack that is that color and quickly make some changes to it and go, boom, here you go. It's fakeable. And then when you take a look at the way the cards are laid out, like in the picture that's been on the screen for the time I've been talking about the downsides, the problems, the reasons this is probably fake. When you take a look at this picture, like if somebody actually had access to these cards, they would know how hyped they were, and they would have the cards separated out. So you can see there are 4 cards here. There's one in the background where all you can see is kind of the corner just kind of peeking out there. And that says to me, they made multiple mock-ups and we're like, you know what? If we just throw them down on the table, it will kind of add some extra credibility to it. And they probably decided that that one in the background was the worst of the lot, the most obvious fake looking one. And they're like, we'll just kind of shove it behind other cards to give them a teaser. It seems like this is like an orchestrated sort of picture to me, where this is orchestrated casualness, if that makes sense, where they're just trying to be like, oh, check it out, and just threw the cards down. But this isn't, if you had access to multiple box toppers, because this would be 4 different box topper packs. How did you get 4 different box toppers ahead of schedule? Why do you only have one package? Why are you not showing us one of the cards? Like there's too much going on here that screams shady to me. So I come down in the camp of these are fake, guys. And I know people saw the artwork that came out today as an official Ikoria spoiler, where there is a kind of Hawaiian beach and you can see a gigantic 4-toed footprint in the sand, and people are like, Godzilla has 4 toes. But I mean, any gigantic, like they're just trying to give you the concept of a gigantic beast. People are desperate for this Godzilla thing to be real, but I feel very confident at this point saying that these are almost guaranteed to be fakes, my friends. There have been a number of times throughout the years where people have tried to pass fake magic cards. Sometimes they make it, sometimes they don't. There's too much adding up here to say to me, it's not reasonable to believe these are real. It's unlike with the Theros leak, where that actually felt real. I'm like, okay, this feels real. It feels like they're lying about where they got it from, but the cards felt real. That seemed genuine. This is all just kind of taking information that exists, slapping together some mock-ups, put them out there and see what happens. That's my take on it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I want to give a big thanks to my patrons and channel members for supporting the channel. I will see all of you lovely people very soon. Thanks for coming by.